We're going to start taking a look at some of the new elements inside of HTML5. And there's a lot of hype and a lot of excitement about HTML5 and the things you can do with it. And brings a lot of new dynamic content. It's often been called the Flash killer. But I don't see it as a Flash killer, but it is an excellent tool for you to learn. There are going to be new tools coming out to help you develop HTML5 content. There's only about 30 new tags that go along with HTML5. But the complex part is some of the things that you can do with the tags. And for example, with the canvas tag, you can start to create animations and motion on the screen quite easily. And how you control that is through a lot of JavaScript and CSS3. So HTML5 as a standalone with some basic new tags, it's very simple. However, when you start to incorporate the JavaScript and the CSS3, then you can do some really dynamic things. But don't get caught up in all the hype with HTML5. There are things you can still do with the old HTML4 and lower that still work well. So you're not throwing away everything. You don't have to think that HTML5, if you don't make HTML5, then you can't do anything for mobile. That's just not true. But there are new features coming with HTML5 that is very difficult to do with the old features. So we're going to go through the process and learn a couple of neat little tricks and some new tools inside of HTML5. And we're just going to step through each one of these a little bit at a time to make sure you get a good understanding of this. And then we can, as we progress through more complex tutorials, you're going to learn how to apply some of these tags at a higher level. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to start off with a Dreamweaver, and we're going to define a brand new site. So I'll go to the site menu option up here and come down to new site. And this is similar to what we've done before. I'm going to give this a name HTML5 is my site name. I'll call it tutorials. And I'm going to browse to go to a new location. And for now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to my desktop. I'm going to make a new folder. And I'll call this HTML5 tutorials. I'm okay with that. And we'll go inside there and I'll select that. There's nothing else I really need to do. I'm just going to click on save. And you can see over here in my files panel that there's nothing inside it because it's a brand new site and there are no files. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to go to the file menu option, come down to new, and we can just click on a blank page, HTML, which is fine. But I'm going to go over to this section here, and on the pull down menu, what I want to do is I want to select an HTML5 file. I will click on create, and there is my HTML5 file. If we go to the source code, what makes an HTML5? And basically it's that line number 1. That's it. This is an HTML5 file. So very simple, nothing too complex. So go back to the design view. And in here, I'm going to call this HTML5 new elements. And I'm going to save this, and I'll just give the name index. Now, normally what we do is we tend to go in and create a template when we create a whole site. I'm not going to create a whole site out of this. I'm just going to use this one file and start to create some small little components and build the structure of what a file may look like. And the key thing here is it's a new design philosophy that goes with HTML5. Again, in previous tutorials, what we did is we used div tags to establish the look of our page. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to be using div tags and specific new HTML5 tags to set up the structure of our web page. But before we get started, and those will be in later tutorials, but before we get started, what I want to do is we're in a bit of an influx right now where some of the things that we're doing don't work with older browsers. And one of the biggest culprits is Internet Explorer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this line of code, and this comes from Google. I'm going to write a remark statement, square bracket, if less than, i.e. square 8, close the square bracket, and I can close off that angle bracket. So if I have a browser that's less, and it's Internet Explorer, and it's less than Internet Explorer 8. Then I'm going to run this code. I'm also going to put in here square bracket, or my closing brace, exclamation mark, square bracket, end div. Close the square bracket, and then close off the remarks statement. Oops, that's my remarks right there. So you notice now the tag, the code down here is no longer grayed out. Now what we want to do is we want to run a small little script. And the source for this script, I'll just put in two brackets, and then I'm going to put in the closing brace. And I'll have to write in script here manually. Okay. Now, within the quotation marks, we're going to put in this web address. HTML5 shiv.googlecode.com /SVN /trunk /HTML5.js. So this little shiv file, what it's going to do, is going to help Internet Explorer version 8 and 7, and hopefully you don't have 6, but earlier versions of Internet Explorer don't interpret HTML5 tags very well or at all, and so it's going to render some unpredictable things on your page when you start to use HTML5. This line of code, what it's going to do is it's going to throw in some JavaScript that helps Internet Explorer handle those objects a little better, and it's not going to be perfect, but it's a whole lot better than what it would be without this code. So it should reduce or eliminate a lot of the errors that you may see when you try to load up a page like this in an early version of HTML5. So we're going to save this, and at this point in this tutorial, I'm going to leave it at this, here. When we come back, we're going to start to build our structure and start to add some elements into our new HTML5 page, one piece at a time.